Joe Biden facing a withering barrage from voters at a stop in New Hampshire. Voters there calling him, quote, creepy, perverted, quote, quid pro Joe, calling him actually, quote, a pervert. Joining me now is Heritage Foundation senior writer Kelsey Bolar. Great to see you, Kelsey. Wow, that was another bad moment for Joe Biden.
Right. Joe Biden certainly has been struggling on the campaign trail to make these personal connections with voters, which we know is important. And I think part of the reason for that is because he's limited the amount of press that he's been willing to engage in, and therefore skirting the tough questions. So then when he goes in front of these audiences and actually does get asked these questions that by now he should answer, he's kind of trying to work around that and you know, change the question, and the mainstream media might let him get away with that. But voters, on the other hand, want to hear his answers.
You know, in 2019, it was the year the Democrats went off the rails. From Russia collusion, that story flopped, to recession, that story flopped, to impeachment. Also, 2020 Democrats dodging questions on how to pay for their big government policies that polls show Americans don't want. Kelsey, now this is happening. Joe Biden fighting with Bernie Sanders saying Trump is going to eat your lunch. Biden now saying he would name Obama to the Supreme Court. Obama still not openly endorsing Biden. Gallup now reporting Obama and Trump are tied as the most admired man in 2019. Your reaction to all of that?
Well, grab the popcorn, Liz. Things are getting interesting on the Democrat side. I think all these candidates are in an extremely tough position where the very far left radical voter base wants these very extreme, costly policies. Of course, they don't know how much they actually will end up costing. But then, you know, whoever eventually makes it to the general election will have to win over moderate voters who are certainly out there, but they're not as vocal. And what's happening on the Democrat side now is that these radical policies are leaving so many of them feeling politically homeless.
And the other thing that's happening is the president is co-opting the Democrats' populist message, getting the Fed to cut rates, NAFTA, the NAFTA deal, importing cheaper drugs from overseas, on and on. So, paid parental leave for government workers. I want to return to this. Elizabeth Warren's campaign, we know the fundraising for her campaign down 30% in the fourth quarter. Her poll numbers collapsing. She's had a bad plan for everything. Her own brother, David, now ripping into Elizabeth Warren. He's furious that Elizabeth Warren has been, quote, lying on the campaign trail, saying that their father was a janitor. So that story is happening in the race. But the Democrats really did go off the rails on impeachment. Watch this.
He richly deserves impeachment. He has done many impeachable offenses.
Page 45. And page 45.
We believe that President Trump has violated the Constitution, and we've introduced 5 articles of impeachment.
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
We begin impeachment proceedings now.
Okay, 9 times they've introduced articles to impeach or resolutions. 2019 is a year to celebrate. S&P is closing on its best year in 2 decades. Pension, 401ks accounts are floating higher. World stocks added over $25 trillion in value in the past 10 years. I mean, the Democrats seem really out of touch here.
Absolutely. 2019 was a reason to celebrate. Americans, particularly blue-collar workers, are doing extremely well, incredibly impressive unemployment rates. And yet, what did the Democrats do this year? They showed us what their true colors are. They showed us how radical their policies are, that they support, very out of touch with any sort of moderate American voter. And they also showed us that Democrats are far more focused on these impeachment and investigative games, which are yielding nothing productive for the American people. They're far more focused on that than they are on furthering policy goals that, there is bipartisan support for some of these policy achievements, like the new NAFTA deal. And yet all they want to do is focus on impeachment. That's all they want to talk about, and the media is enabling it.
Kelsey Bolar, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. By the way, Gallup reporting 54% of Americans own stocks. That means a lot of union workers as well, teachers, firemen, cops. Kelsey, come back soon. Great to see you.
Thank you.